The founder of the Religious Science Church in Atlanta, Kennedy Schultz, used to start all of his services by saying, "Such is the nature of life that all it asks is the opportunity to appear." And then you follow up with, "You are that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is." And I love the way that sounds. I love the connotation of that. Such is the nature of life that all it asks is the opportunity to appear. In the intervening years since I first heard that, and I spent some time focusing on words and my belief system, and I think that there are probably a couple of changes that I would make to the phrasing that Kennedy Schultz used. And he passed away some number of years ago, so I'm not going to get in trouble. Although there are still people who are saying that and things that are similar to that. And this is not me getting into an ego fight. This is just remembering the principle. There is a principle at work here in New Thought. And that's what we're talking about today. What's new? And New Thought is not something that is new. And we've been over this a whole bunch. People say, "Oh, New Thought, that's something that's brand new. That's a way that we can have a spiritual practice that's completely different than anything in the past." And that's not the case. New Thought isn't a new process. New Thought is the process of having a thought that's different than the thought we had before. It's a new thought as opposed to an old thought. It is a new thought as opposed to an underlying belief that's never been challenged. We have the opportunity to turn up the soil in our consciousness and uncover what's down there and perhaps pull out some weeds and then plant some new seeds in there so that we can create a new crop. Because, as was discussed in the reading, if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, we are going to continue getting the same result. And the question isn't, what is new thought? The question is, what new thought do I want to have? What new experience do I want to bring into being and into my life? And the whole teaching is really simple. And the whole structure of the principle is really simple. There is an infinite creative power that creates everything, that has created everything, that has created each of us, that has shared itself as consciousness through and as us. And that principle, that creative law, has one answer. It always says yes. It always says yes. It's only got the one answer. It's going to say yes. So the point for us is how we're going to phrase that request or that question or that idea. What is the intention or the invitation that we're going to put out there? And we can think, it's I'm really clear about what I want, and I've just been frustrated about it. But it is so simple to go off the rails, to think that we're asking for something and be asking for something different. I'll give you an example of that, and this is probably going to be familiar to a bunch of people.
Does your dear go back? Oh? Oh. Nice dig. I thought you said your dog did not bite.
That is not my dog.
Peter Sellers' classic, The Pink Panther. And metaphysically, you can see what happened there. Everybody was very clear about what it was that they were saying, what it was that they were asking, but had a complete misunderstanding of the meaning of the answer. Does your dog bite? No, my dog doesn't bite. Okay, the assumption then is that the dog that's sitting in front of me doesn't bite. Oops, not my dog. And there's a dog bite in the middle of that. And yeah, that's kind of funny. But how many times do we do that? How many times do we ask for something? Do we set an intention? Do we create an invitation? And we're going to get not the answer that we're looking for, but the answer that we asked for. And then we get to misunderstand the answer. And then we get to continue to have the drama and the excitement and the fun of trying to figure out why it is that what's coming back to me, that the person or the situation that I'm involved in seems to be so at peace with, has nothing to do with what I was thinking about. Take a moment and think if that has ever happened in your life this week. today. I mean, it's early. It's Sunday morning, so maybe not today. But the question is, what are we looking for? What is the yes that we're going to be getting to? An experience earlier this week, the candle that's behind me over here had burned down, and there's lots of melted wax in there, and so I was sort of absent-mindedly using my pocket knife to chop the wax out of it, and I cut my finger. And I cut my fingers. Oh, okay. Well, there's that. And it's like, okay, I took care of it myself. Probably doesn't need specific professional attention. I thought I could call Joe, and she would render her opinion over the phone. She says, "Yeah, point your phone camera at it. We'll see." But it was the timing was such that I got to go over to the urgent care and let them take a look at it. And so they washed it out and they looked at it. They said, "Well, you can put in a couple of stitches, or we could just use the glue." And it's like, whatever you think. I've never had the glue. I've never had stitches, actually. So whatever it is that you think is going to be the best to do with that. And it's a pretty superficial cut. That's like, it's pretty much healed up by now. And so we decide that we're going to use the glue. Along the way, they say, can you promise that you're going to keep your fingers straight? And this is the doctor asking me this question because it's right on the knuckle. And if I bend my finger, then it could break the glue. And I thought, well, sure, I can promise that. But then I thought, it's 8:30 at night. I'm going to go home and go to sleep. I have no idea what I'm going to do with my hand while I'm asleep. So I said, no, I can't promise that. And so they say, well, we'll give you a little finger splint that we can put on it to keep you from bending it. It's like, okay, now we've got the answer that we were looking for, which is, how do we keep my finger straight without having me promise something that I can't possibly be able to commit to? And they're going through and doing all this stuff. It was like a Keystone Cops routine between the three of them that were helping me. And so they simultaneously decide that they need to take my vitals. This is after they've already decided what the treatment's going to be. So one of them leaves the room to go get the blood pressure machine, and the other one starts wiping iodine on my wound and then putting the glue on it. And then the other one comes back in with the blood pressure machine, and she's trying to get my jacket off so that she can take my blood pressure. And they take the blood pressure and say, your blood pressure's kind of high. I said, you think in the middle of this circus my blood pressure is going to be a little bit high? What's the answer that we're looking for? Is the answer, how healthy is Bill? How's his blood pressure? Or is the question, how crazy can we make this man right before we take his blood pressure? So the answer is going to be yes. We just need to understand what the question is going to be. There's actually another really good paradigm for the way that principle works when we're asking what's new, and that is the classic and insightful TV game show Jeopardy. So in Jeopardy, you're given the answer, and you need to work out what the question is. Well, principle-wise, we know that the answer is yes. So whatever it is that the intention that we're setting, the answer is going to be yes. So if we're playing Jeopardy in our real life, what we can do is we can use that process to understand what's in our belief system. And everybody has a belief system. So in order to understand what's in our belief system, you can just imagine Alex Trebek saying, the answer is, there's never enough money to pay my bills. And after the response is going to be yes, then the question of the intention is, I have a consciousness of lack or poverty or not enough. Because the answer is yes, and that's what shows up in our lives. It is that simple and that direct. We want to have a different experience of prosperity in our life, then it's about uprooting whatever's buried there in the soil of our consciousness, of our belief system, and planting something new. Because if we are, any of us, having an experience of lack or insufficiency or poverty, or sudden bills that need to be paid and challenges or expenses that come along, and we let that be the end of it, what we're doing is we know that there is a belief somehow buried down in there that we're not going to get what we need, that there's not enough to go around, that there's scarcity in the world, that we have to struggle, etc., etc., etc. And we can use Annie's prayer work story. Suddenly there's a problem with the oil tank. She needs a new oil tank. They have to buy an oil tank. It's not in the budget. What are we going to do about that? And then just set the intention that the yes that I'm going to get is this situation is resolving harmoniously, and with an experience of prosperity and sufficiency and abundance for me. And somebody gives her an oil tank, and it turns out that the oil tank she has still has plenty of oil in it, and then she gets a discount on the oil that she's putting in to top off the tank. Look for the yes that we're getting, and then we get to work backwards and uproot whatever it is that brought that yes around. And the answer is, I don't have the love or respect or success that I desire. The answer is yes. And the question, show me I'm not worthy. Now, I didn't make that up. Louise Hay in You Can Heal Your Life says basically in the hundreds or thousands of clients she worked with, every last one of them basically came down to a feeling of undeserving or unworthiness. So if Louise figured that out for all of those people, and it's got all that in common, then if you are getting a yes that's not showing up the way that you want it to, then take it back to that. Do you deserve that good that you're seeking? The answer is yes, you do deserve the good that you're seeking. The answer is yes, you deserve all good. It is all available to us. There's one power that creates everything, that shares itself as all of its creation. And all of that good is available everywhere at every moment to everyone. So we can have it. We can have it now. And contrary to the way that Kennedy Schultz said, I think such is the nature of life that all it does is say yes to the invitation to appear. Such is the nature of life that all it does is say yes to the invitation to appear. You are that invitation, and I am that invitation. And that good that we are seeking is right there ready for us. So let's invite it in and enjoy it. So it is.